This takes us to the items needing individual consideration, and there is one item today. The item is to number 1, the Mesa County Board of Commissioners will consider rejecting Ordinance 16 in favor of subsequently appointing a working group to address community concerns. We have John Rhodes, Assistant County Attorney, here to present.
Good morning, John Rhodes, Mesa County Attorney's Office. This agenda item that's before the board today is to, the action being considered is to reject the Ordinance 16 that has been previously published and read into the record as part of a ordinance to address matters relating to traffic, truck traffic in and around the port of entry. Originally, as part of the two-step process for adopting this ordinance, there's the initial reading, and then there's time again for public comment. I believe the board has met with and discussed these matters with members of the public, and at this point, this consideration and the approval of the board would be, or I'm sorry, the affirmative vote of the board would be to reject this ordinance as written, and to consider creating a working group to look at other options to address the issues that were brought up as part of this ordinance. The board will, whenever they do have any sort of other new ordinance, should that be appropriate in the future, we'll just go through the process again and do another creation of the ordinance and the following reading, follow the process as it would normally be done. Any questions on that?
Thank you, Attorney Rhodes. Commissioners, do you have any questions at this time?
Just to clarify, the affirmative vote is to reject Ordinance 16.
And that's how I read it. Yes, that's the way the agenda item has been said, is that the affirmative vote is to reject as it's been posted in the meeting notice.
So this is not the second reading. This is a vote to reject it. I'm just clarifying because I thought it was the second reading that we would be rejecting, but it's actually a motion. It's actually as written to reject it.
And that's how I read it. Whenever we post the items and for the consideration for members of the public, we actually are posting the item that is up for consideration by my board. And in this case, it is a rejection as it's been titled here.
All right, good to know.
Any other comments or questions?
I don't have any comments right now.
Okay. Is there any public comment at this time on this item? Please step forward and state your name to the record.
My name is Frank Klein. I live on 16 Road. I'm not 100% sure what has transpired, why this motion is being rejected. I was hoping to hear something about that today, but I still have concerns as to the traffic problems on 16 Road and the truck problems coming in front of my house. And I'm not 100% sure what the reasoning is for why they would continue traffic down that road. But I want to reiterate that I'd be happy to work to come up with ideas. I support trucking and truckers, a family of Teamsters, and was born in Delta, and I want folks here to be able to make a living, and I don't want to interfere with that, but I still don't understand why there's truck traffic on those roads. So again, I would reiterate that it's a safety hazard. It decreases quality of life for the residents in that area, and I don't understand why we would reject this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Do we have other public comments on this item? Please step forward, say your name to the record, please.
Steve Zacher, and I've traveled that road a lot in the last 20 years. Public safety is not an issue. I can't remember seeing a bicycle rider or somebody walking up and down those roads. And state law says that if you're outside the 5-mile limit, you don't have to go through that port. So unless they move the 5-mile marker back towards Douglas Pass, there shouldn't be a problem with it. And just because one person doesn't like it, doesn't mean the rest of us should be put in a burden. And secondly, the state of Colorado, Department of Revenue, when they don't open that port, they don't bother to turn the sign down there at the intersection. It's open all the time. I've been up there more than a half a dozen times and the thing's been closed. So there's a bunch of miles out of my way that comes out of my pocket. So I don't see a problem with it. Like I said, I don't remember seeing a bicycle rider on that road, and if that gentleman doesn't like it, then he should move. It's that simple. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comments on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll take it back to the board for some discussion. Do either of you have comments?
I'll just give a little bit of history on this item. We started out last fall talking about a problem, and I think most people do recognize that there is a problem. The question is it worth solving, given the unintended consequences of trying to solve it? So last fall, we started out with a local traffic order, which would allow anybody who's local to still continue to travel local. So if your trucking company was in that area, you could still travel. And so trying to be objective about it, it was like, oh, this is the perfect ordinance, right? Well, talking to the trucking industry, there's actually a lot of complications to that. There's other reasons why they're not using 139. There's a school, there's hazmat that goes down 139 right by a school. So there are other reasons why a trucker might go down 16 and Q Road other than just to skip the port. So the question is, do we have a problem? I think there is a problem. The second question is it worth solving? Talking with the industry, this thing was probably ill-conceived and probably not ready. And so my goal is to convene a working group. And Fred, I'll take you up on your offer to be there because I know we'll have many from the trucking industry as well. And we'll answer the question, is it worth solving? And we may come to the end and say, no, it's just like the code of the West, right? If you live next to a manure farm, it's going to smell like manure. If you live in a productive area, you're going to have production trucks, things like that. So that's the question we're going to try to solve. But for now, we're going to put this thing to bed and consider probably a different way. So that's why I would be in support of the motion today to reject the ordinance.
To me, this is an example, I think, of local government working well. We had a resident who brought to Commissioner Davis a challenge and you jumped on it, as we all try to do. And then as the public became aware of this, which is why we have a second reading for an ordinance, and we got the feedback from the public, it allowed us to understand those unintended consequences of the solution. And they were so concerning that even the person who originally brought the problem agreed that those unintended consequences weren't good. So I think now deciding not to move forward with the ordinance, but still have a work group to see if there is some solution we can find is a great win-win for everyone. So.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners, for your comments. I will definitely agree to some of those statements. This is local government working and we can't do it without you, nor do we want to. And I really applaud all of you for stepping up and giving us your perspective. I think it's so important that we can come together and really find workable solutions. And we're creating a working group because we all have concerns and I think we can solve them ourselves. So thank you guys for being involved in this. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the item as entered into the record.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.